share, copy, stage archive. There we go. All right. And of course, there it goes. All right. I'm back to stage chat. We got 9. Let's just give it one more minute. Because not too much to cover this week, actually. Very few questions relative to the other weeks. I think this is the least amount of questions we've had so far. So we'll go through in the same way. Let's see, let me jump back up here. Who we got? What up? We got Ninja, YKZ, Osprey, Vincent, Ando, Peter, Bender, Sphere Sleep, Houdini, Mad Mike, Stack, Oxy, Mr. Panda, Ultra, Fars. Welcome. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and jump in and get started. There's not too much to cover this week, as I mentioned, but there's still a good amount of material. So we'll get started into that. First and foremost, as you know, if you've been to these before, we start out with some core updates, then talk about voice of the community, and then I'll jump down to the AMA questions. I think I'll do it a little bit differently this time. I think I'm going to stay in stage chat and just double check, make sure if there's any other additional AMA questions. I'll adjust those, but I think this will be a bit more interactive. So I'm going to stay in stage chat this time because I already copied over the questions into another document. So, all right, so first update from Core. There've been a lot of people pointing out our outdated documents. Rest assured that they are currently under reconstruction. A better place right now for updated documents is going to be through the Sphere Medium articles. And until those updated documents are finalized, that'll be the case. So we know that the documents need work, and they are being reworked. So thank you for pointing that out as well. Burnie, good old Burnie. So Sphere de-risked 560K, as most of you probably know by now, by selling Matic when it was near its recent high, and that was pledged for buyback burns. 20K of that was already added to Burnie a few weeks ago, and there's been quite a lot of discussion regarding our burn rate. So let's talk about that. There's been a lot of valid points, but also a lot of confusion and questions about that. So the current burn rate is set at about $40 per hour, and we're always going to be evaluating when the best time to increase the burn rate might be, but we don't know if the pledged funds could be better used at a later time. So we won't be just burning it through as quickly as we can just because we can. But that being said, we do not plan on burning at this low rate the entirety of the 560K. But even so, preservation and timing of the treasury is really what we try to focus on. It's quite paramount, especially during this DeFi crypto winter. We've also been able to, and it is our continued goal, to gain ground as we move forward in our developments. And with a treasury that's able to yield its expenses and then still have leftovers to compound, I think that really says a lot. It also allows us to keep developing Sphere, keep developing the ecosystem, keep growing the treasury, continue to burn Sphere. Hey T1, what's up? For those of you interested in keeping track of Burnie's progress, I know I've mentioned this before, but check out sphere.wiki/BBB. You can see the amount of bot funds available, the total amount spent, the total Sphere burned by the bots so far, and then the total overall Sphere burned. In my experience, it'll take a while for this page to fully load in. So I usually open it, switch over tabs, give it a minute or so, and then it'll populate all the correct information. Yes, thank you, Mad Mike, for that link. So right now, based on what I'm seeing, when I most recently loaded this, which is just before I started the AMA, we spent over 165K on buying and burning Sphere, which is pretty dang nice. Oh, wow, thank you. Yeah, man, Mike just posted in the chat the some of the stats on that. Yeah. I think it is. Oh, wait. Burned by bots. May still be loading. Yeah, I think it's still loading for you. All right. The other thing about Burnie is it's important to remember that Burnie's just the beginning. We're, of course, in the process of creating an arsenal of deflation and revenue with Dyson, SphereLend, and other ecosystem projects. So the other thing, too, now I'm thinking about this is, once DeFi winter starts to finally subside, the Treasury's in a very good position to obviously make profit and yield from that just in its investments alone. So with more yield will come more funds available for Burnie as well. Just something I thought I would add on that. All right. Dyson. So if you guys don't check out the weekly report, highly encourage you to. A lot of good information in there, and I like to recap that for these. But yeah, for Dyson, obviously there are a lot of issues recently with the multiple centralized exchanges going bankrupt, all the issues with FTX, for example. So we are taking a pause on Dyson reveals, and we're going to take time to audit Dyson's code while also building out some more strategies, more relationships in the space, and add some more user experience features. Dyson is really about making those connections, reaching other communities, and encouraging them to use Dyson because, not only does it benefit Sphere, as we know, but the whole point is that it's more capital efficient for these different communities, right? It's doing them a service as well. So we want to be able to establish those connections, establish that community. And because contract risks are very real risks within DeFi, we do want to take as many precautions as we can to ensure that our users and their users are as safe as possible while interacting with those contracts. And again, this is going to be especially important for Dyson because it uses tokens from these various external protocols, and all of those protocols are interested in the safety of their users. So we want to be able to provide both you guys, our community, and their community with a safe, audited vault to then maximize returns on these different strategies. So currently we are getting Dyson's contracts audited through 2 different companies now that we have that time to do so. So, if you want to keep updated on Dyson's developments, be sure to follow Dyson on Twitter and Medium. That'll be where things are posted first and foremost. Mad Mike, I think when BTC breaks out and the tax refund season comes, the season may change to a small bull. Increase in price, Dyson Sphere should benefit. I sure hope so. All I know is it's end of November. Soon will be December. It's winter. It's winter in real life and it's winter in crypto, and I'm wearing my coat. But I agree. I think as things will turn around, I'm quite hopeful that we're going to have the appropriate systems in place to help capture that influx of liquidity because we have these different liquidity management services. All right. Next up from SphereLend, next up from Core is talking about SphereLend. So this is more just a reiteration. Most of you may already be familiar with SphereLend, but in a nutshell, a tokenless lending market built within Sphere itself. It's going to allow for borrowing at 0% interest. And that's going to be possible because deposited collateral will be farmed with, and then lenders will earn from those yields. And then, of course, there will be a performance fee from those yields as well that will go through SphereLend and into buying and burning Sphere. So that's going to actually enable lenders to get volatile level yields on their stable deposits, for example. So it should be an attractive marketplace for people looking to borrow and lend crypto, especially because lending and borrowing is one of the basic backbones of any financial institution, any financial service. So as we expand their ecosystem, this is one of the fundamentals that we want to be able to offer. And then currently the front end of SphereLend is being worked on, and things are progressing smoothly with that. Yo Mama Fat, hey, asked which parts of the ecosystem are required for V3. Well, it's not so much about that necessarily. You know, we do want to have Dyson out before V3 because V3 will earn yield through Dyson. So I would say that's probably the primary part. In terms of what's required, I'm not sure I can say much beyond that. But I will kind of reflect back to one of the AMAs. Actually, the AMA Sim did with Obsidian Council most recently about how Covenant will be a voting platform whereby the actual governance of VE Sphere will really take significant root. So I'm trying to think if that would necessarily be absolutely required. And I truthfully at this point couldn't say one way or another on that. Osprey, Dyson sounds a lot like the MVP of Sphere at the minute. You can hear how important its development security is to the team and their holders. Yeah, it's really something that's cool and exciting. You know, you can, I kind of think, you know, I do this and I think other people might do this, is compare it to like Penrose and Unknown, right? Both of those were dependent on other teams and the success of those other protocols. And it also depended on liquidity coming from other sources and into, you know, Dystopia and Cone. Dyson is quite different, right? It's akin to Beefy, or like how Yield Yak was, for example. It's a yield maximizer, so it doesn't rely on removing liquidity from places, more so as it is a yield optimizer where people can deposit and still take advantage of all these different protocols in such a way that it's much easier and convenient for them. So I think I'm as excited as many of you are for that. All right. Then I did want to take a few minutes kind of within Voice of Community to comment on something, and that is the issue of when. Because I think there are still some of us who are stuck in the rebase degen era and mindset. Sphere is a DeFi protocol, but we approach it and run it very much like a business. We are building this for the long term with real solutions. We're targeting capital inefficiencies in the crypto space. But if you think about these things, it can take startup projects years before they even begin the initial releases of their services. Sphere has a history of moving much more rapidly than any other crypto team that I'm aware of, but that does not take away the fact that this development cycle we are in requires tremendous time, energy, and effort. And we are still very early in Sphere's phases, right? We're still building out the ecosystem, and we have the adoption and growth phases still to come. And trust me, we are all eager for those phases too. But until the ecosystem's utility and V3 are produced and established, we do ask for your patience and understanding as we build. We have been able to deliver on so much since our inception, but I know there are still many elements that myself and everyone else are still waiting on. The market conditions obviously do not make things easier for any of us from a psychological standpoint, but it does give us the time to build out to the best of our ability so that when the market sentiment does turn around, we will be ready with our entire arsenal and flywheel fully built and ready for mass adoption. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about that. Taking a step back, when I mentioned covenant, covenant is much more for the bribers than the bribees. Not necessarily. Covenant is for both. Covenant is a way to ensure that the person that is bribing actually gets that bribe enacted on. So it will actually be much more efficient for people who are bribing. And of course, it'll be good for bribers or people with the voting power, because it'll be that system for receiving that voting, those voting bribes. All right, so let's see. T1, I saw your question in AMA question, so we'll get to that one. And then Crypto TN, what is the official status of Dystopia Penrose? Cone unknown. Sphere still counting on that long term, or a new version of it? I guess what I'm asking is Sphere still looking to become the new Curve Wars. So remember that these systems are liquidity services that we are putting in place, that are setting up the foundation of this ecosystem, and that these types of liquidity services are things that we do want to build out into other chains. I'm getting too many questions now. So yes, right, we still want to be a liquidity service. We still want to offer these different foundational services. And the more that the ecosystem is built out, the more you'll see that these things are built on top of each other. And with that, it's not as though we're not giving up on these things. Essentially, they're still part of this ecosystem. So Sinner, technically, I'm not at this point. I was trying something different. So I think I will get back on track, and then I'll jump back into stage chat. Which actually brings me to our first AMA question, which was from Brault. And that is, what does 80-20 LP pair really mean when adding price increase decrease, throwing off the initial 80-20 balance? What are the risks and such? Perhaps video material. So Brault, are you here? Weighted pools like 80-20 pools adhere to a weighted math where the prices are determined by the pool balances, the pool weights, and the amount of tokens being swapped. So as the price of each token changes, traders and arbitrageurs are going to rebalance the pool via swaps. And that maintains the desired weighting within the pool and collects trading fees from the trades. So the risk of weighted pools is that the higher the asymmetry, the more likely slippage will occur, because one side of the pool is going to have less liquidity, right? The 20% side. But historically, the 80-20 pool seems to be a happy medium where you can minimize impermanent loss and yet still have enough liquidity on each side to facilitate trading and therefore, keep the pool profitable with swap volume. All right. And then Vitamin George had asked, will Dyson make use of delta neutral strategies? So while we would love to share the details of all the strategies included in Dyson and those that are planned for the future of Dyson, we cannot share that information with you yet. Dyson is and will be far more than just one approach for strategy. And again, I encourage you to follow us on Dyson, Twitter, Medium, to be the first to get the news on those developments. Vitamin George, I don't know if you're here either. And then T1, hello. Are there any plans to change the bonding price in accordance to the current price of Sphere? So the bonding price may not always be better than the market price. Those bonds in particular were issued a while back, and that was when we were in a price run, and they did not sell out at that time. So, jumping ahead now, currently the preference is actually for buyers to use the LP, and that preference can change during times of more buying pressure, in which case we would want to encourage bonding to favor treasury revenue. So there's a few things to balance within that decision. All right. And then Pero, if you're here, asked, hello, can you explain first two biggest wallets of Sphere? One with 2.7 billion tokens and the other with 1.7 billion. Certainly. So for those on the live stream, I moved over to the top wallet addresses holding Sphere. So the first biggest wallet contract address is actually for Sphere Games. So when users deposit into Sphere Games, that Sphere is stored in the contract wallet, and users are going to be credited T-Sphere. Then that T-Sphere, of course, can be withdrawn at any time to claim back the Sphere from the contract, bearing in mind the 14-day early withdrawal tax. And actually, on Sphere Games, you can see for yourself on the Sphere Games page on the right, where it says total player deposit. See 2.85 billion Sphere, and then the number one wallet's about 2.85 billion Sphere. The second wallet is actually a multi-sig wallet for marketing, burning, partnerships, and team tokens. And then also for those who are curious, the top number 3 wallet is the crypto null address where the tokens are sent to be removed from circulation. I think it's so cool that that's already the top third address. And then number 4 is a liquidity pool treasury. And the top number 5 wallet, for those interested, is tokens that were in the initial LP that will then be added back into liquidity pools in the future and or used for bonds. So those are the top 5 addresses in terms of Sphere holders. Let me just check AMA questions. There's no other questions there. I'll go back to stage chat. And then, where did I leave off? McFly asked about Covenant. So, I can't really talk more about Covenant outside of things like, for example, that Sim has said in the AMA and the Obsidian Council, for example. So that's going to be something where, more will be released in time. And then, I'm certainly going to be more than happy to kind of walk it through and explain it as things go on. Sinner asked, how are you? I'm good. Today was a busy day, but holding in there strong. Didn't have time to make my tea, unfortunately. Very sad, but I do have water, so I will survive. Mad Mike commented, monthly yield currently covers business team tech expenses. In case of startup world, the runway is established to build and grow without the fear of a zero business bank. Building phase, time will allow more utility of Sphere. Yep, this is the startup phase. Angel investor, high risk, high reward. It's pretty fun. Yeah, we really are in those beginning phases, and it's. I'm glad you pointed that out because it's very true, right? The treasury is basically, in some sense, that's what we're all here for, right? That's what keeps Sphere going. That's what's going to be fueling the buyback burning. Yes, we have these different projects that are going to be funneling revenue directly into buying and burning Sphere. But technically you can imagine it as going into the treasury and then going out to buying and burning Sphere, even though it won't necessarily happen that way. But you get what I'm saying, right? That treasury is paramount. So the fact that despite this winter, it's been able to stay profitable on yielding and compound even back within the treasury is fantastic, right? it does show a very long runway. It allows us to expand the ecosystem. It's allowed us to hire more people within Sphere itself to continue to build out. So it's awesome. It's very exciting. Yeah, crazy last bonds. I know. Yeah, it's been some time since those bonds were replenished. I think the team is very focused on that build mode. So getting the buy bonds established was kind of like a proof of concept. Test it out, see how it works, and then kind of back to build mode. Ralph posted a Delta Nutra. I love Investopedia. That's probably one of my favorite, if not my number one favorite resources. Yeah, team is paid in stables. I think in terms of that multi-sig wallet, mainly it's going to be marketing, burning, and partnerships. Currently, the team is not paid in Sphere tokens. You are right on that, Sinner. YKZ going to Sphere, transfer to from the Sphere page. Most of the time, tokens won't load. Can't buy one. Powered, not load. Oh, okay. So there's a bit of a trick to using transfer to actually buy Sphere for those who are struggling. Yeah, I wish the it was easier in Dystopia. I know that's a big concern and barrier for people buying Sphere. I think, frankly, the easiest way with the least slippage is to simply convert whatever asset you have to USD Plus and then simply use USD Plus on Dystopia. Frankly, I think that's the easiest way, but I know that's a lot of extra steps for a lot of people. Oh, and thank you, Hugh Powell, for recommending that go through to suggestions. Oh man, people are really digging into this team allocation. Yeah, so OXJ, it wasn't meant to be taken that that intensely. I think by vast majority, if not all, within that are gonna saving the confusions. That's true. So I would say ultimately it's for marketing, burning, and partnerships. As I mentioned, right now the team is not paid in Sphere tokens. I'm trying to think, if the only way I can see that being for the team is if at some point in time some sort of like linear I'm trying to say, I can't think of the term right now, like being held for a long time before eventually being given to the team. But I don't have any idea in terms of an actual plan for that. It's really more for doing things within the ecosystem. Vested, thank you. Yes. Like struggling here. I'm sorry. Like I said, it's been a busy day for me, so I appreciate the added cognition input from you guys. It helps tremendously. What phase do you think we are at? Startup development phases. Well, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen something like that before. Problem solution fit, vision founders fit, product market fit, scaling, establishing. So ideation, concepting, commitment, validation, scaling, establishing. Wow. I think that's pretty cool. Validation and scaling. Yeah, tracked additional. Man, the words are so small. Yeah, I don't think we're quite at scaling just yet. I would call that the adoption and growth phases, right? Growth and our revenue agreement. Honestly, I'd put us more between like commitment and validation potentially, or even concepting to some degree, because things are still some things within the ecosystem are still being worked on, right? We're still building them out. Yeah, sorry, OXJ, about causing mass panic and confusion. Mad Mike Delta, 1 inch works. Okay. Um, I think there's a problem with US folk about 1 inch unless you're using a VPN though. So people have to be mindful of that. Guys, that's it. So this is a very short AMA day. That's all I got. So any other questions coming in through the stage chat? Another thing I was thinking, because it's even it's hard on me as well, just thinking about how Sphere used to be able to just pump out these different updates, and now it seems as though everything's just kind of on pause and everything's happening behind the scenes, and we're aware of that change. So that's a big part of the reason that I'm here every week trying to kind of bridge that connection with you guys, because I know it's not easy, especially if you were here from the beginning days when a lot of stuff was happening quite quickly, and we could afford that because it was in a time where a lot of people were interested in DeFi and we're just hitting the top of that bull run. Are we on Bin Chain yet? I've been gone for a while. So pump up kicks, we have Cone and Unknown are liquidity services, a DEX and a yield aggregator on Bin Chain. Not a question, more of a recommendation. Have a great week. Thanks. We appreciate everything you do. Well, thank you. I appreciate that comment. I think Cone is, why is 1 inch so popular? Can we make the next 1 inch? 1 inch is an aggregator, so a DEX aggregator. So what people can do with 1 inch is, if they don't want to search around for what's going to have the best liquidity for the best swap, they can just use 1 inch, and 1 inch is automatically going to route through the best swap for you so that you get the least amount of slippage. And obviously that's very important because it's a matter of capital efficiency. Osprey, excellent updates, prize. Well, thanks. And thanks as always. You're welcome, of course. Behind the scenes is what it's about right now, and the Treasury team smart use of time enables it. Yeah. It's kind of like, I imagine this is like, you have if you go through schooling, right? This is the cram study time, right? Your nose is in the books. Time's just flying by, and you're just going and going and grinding. That's what this feels like to me. How can we get 1 inch to route all trades on Polygon through Dystopia? Cut prices. Ultimately, it comes down to the slippage. What's going to be the best slippage for a trade? Yeah, absolutely, Mad Mike. Taking a look at the Sphere roadmap, there's so much within that. And I love all the different code names for these different projects. I think that's hilarious. Liquidity as a service, so it's still a thing. So, for example, just recently, Goss deployed their mainnet, and they're slowly in the process of starting to roll things out. And eventually, Sphere will be launching liquidity services into Goss. And as of right now, we're the only other ones allowed to launch a DEX into Goss outside of their native DEX. So that's pretty cool. So ultimately, Dystopia Bam Bam is up to the Dystopia team. So that'd be something that you can reach out to them about. But higher slippage, more fees, no. So you make more fees with more volume, but to get more volume, you need more liquidity, and that's what's going to lower your slippage. Um, Burner, I'm so sorry. My brain is not working. What does QS stand for? Oh, you can tell it's been a day. Quick swap. Okay, yes. Um, I don't have any updates in terms of quick swap. Sorry. Um, Mad Mike, I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe we can do a Discord codename lottery to pick one from a Sphere holder's Discord username. Oh, you're talking about the names? Yeah, that would be funny actually. um, when Sphere on Goss? Great question. Bam Bam. I didn't know Dystopia was a standalone. Yeah, so Dystopia and Cone are under the control of a separate team. It's the Tattoo team, and then I think also some other players involved. So we're their partners, but we do not have direct control over Dystopia, over Cone. Rather, we worked with them to deploy Penrose and Unknown on top of Dystopia and Cone to improve the efficiency of those dexes. Hmm. Okay. Good questions though. All right. Almost 40 minutes in. Back to the grind. Yeah, more or less. So we're grinding now. This is grind time. This is the build phase. It's hard being on the other side to not see, regular we try to update things weekly. Lilo does a great job with the those weekly reports, and I try to incorporate those into videos and the AMA. So we're doing what we can to keep you guys in the loop, but at the end of the day, we're building and grind. Don't get TMJ. Yeah, we're building, and we're just as excited as you guys are for the future. Any updates on Tattoo V2? No official updates. My natural inclination, and I could be wrong, is it's a similar type of thing as Sphere, given the market conditions, taking time to really build it and make sure it's the way that that it needs to be to progress forward. But that's a question for the Tattoo team. I don't have any official information about that. And yeah, Mad Mike posted the join the team link. So if you see any job positions on there you think you might be a good fit, I encourage you to apply. We certainly need the talent and would be happy to have you. No burn for the weekly AMAs. I'm sorry. This is for education and communication. All right. Um, I see a few people typing, and then we'll probably wrap up in just a couple minutes. All right, take care, Mad Mike. You are, of course, very welcome. Everyone have a good week. Why does everyone always want me to sing? I don't understand where that came from. Coming up with imaginative ideas. Hey, Burner, if you ever have ideas for videos, I'm always happy to take ideas for videos. Please don't sing. I'm a moments kind of guy, you know. If the moment hits and I'm feeling snarky, then I will sing. But taking requests is different. It feels different, so I don't usually do that. All right. It is the time. The time is now. I don't really listen to rap, so I cannot listen to cannot rap for you. I'm very sorry. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. And is it Wednesday yet? If anyone knows where I got that from, I'd be thoroughly impressed. But all right. Take care. Always remember that you matter for who you are. Bye-bye, y'all.